we're just about to start, and before we do, you'll see that the first item in italics is on the agenda, which I would like you to join me and just stand for a few moments, please. Thank you very much, councillors. Now, before we get going, you will notice, for a variety of reasons, that the agenda is quite a lengthy one this evening. And as our clerk did hint to you all in a letter, he hoped that brevity would be a friend of ours this evening. So I would ask you all please to try and sort of bear that in mind. That's what I would say about that. So item 1, Andy, apologies for absence.
I have apologies from Councillor Underhill and Councillor Collar.
Yes, that's right. Number 2, declarations of interest.
I'm fine.
Andrew, did you mention we've got apologies from one of our Tina?
From Tina.
Yeah, so I didn't hear that, sorry.
Item 3, minutes of previous meetings. Spare copy.
I don't, no.
Sorry?
Just yeah, sorry.
What, the minutes?
Yeah.
Yep.
The minutes of the last meeting held in July, 12th of July. Were there any points that are not dealt with elsewhere on the agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I think under item C, Councillor Dunsey was going to investigate opportunities with regard to youth representation.
Yeah, I haven't done it yet. I must be confessed, because the youth meetings have been rather curtailed recently for reasons of access to the grammar school and things. But I'd be delighted to do so as soon as possible.
Right. The other thing, which was 78D, I mentioned the double hanging swing, which was broken and needed repair. We'd agreed, and we took it up to £1,500. I sent through to all of you the price had virtually doubled where we hadn't got it. That has been replaced. So unfortunately, I did exceed. I nearly doubled the price, but it's just frightening how these things are going. And the other thing was F, the grant money to be returned to River Parish Council from River Preschool. Haven't we received that?
Not yet. They said that there was a problem with the account, with their account. They then said they were going to drop a cheque into me.
A cheque in the post?
Yes. They said they were going to drop it into... I gave them my address and I gave them the chairman's address, but they don't seem to have done it yet. So we just have to keep on with that.
Keep that somehow open so we sit next meeting. Nothing else, Mr. Chairman, from me. Sorry.
That's right. Is there anything else that anybody else would like to bring up?
Not related to minutes.
No, any other business later.
Okay. Can I have a proposer for those minutes then, please? Nick, seconder, please. Patrick.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Right. All in favour? Thank you. So we'll... are there any updates then on any matters?
Yes, there are certainly recreation ground. The phone box is mentioned.
Yeah, these come up later.
That's what I'm saying. So yes,
it's come up later in the
That's
agenda.
why I hadn't
Be
mentioned that.
distributed.
Yes.
Page 2.
it right to the back, Mr.
That's
Chairman.
And page 3. Okay.
Thank you.
Right, well, we have our PCSO with us this evening, going on to 5A. Would you like to regale us?
I haven't really got much. I've had quite a few people emailing me about Facebook posts about a nuisance scooter that's riding around at quite a big speed around here. So we are putting a lot together. I'm going off on annual leave for 2 weeks after today, but as soon as I get back, they're putting it together to try and catch whoever it is on there. So, and also I'm having quite a few issues with speeding along Lewisham Road. So they said it's the specials that are coming out with us, so they're going to do that as well. Nothing really much more. I had a couple of criminal damages of vehicles. I've got a resident that keeps messaging me on Crabble Lane to say the same children keep knocking at his door. So dealing with that, and that's about it.
Do you remember I left a message on your answer machine because I'd received complaints from a couple of local residents quite separately about fishing.
About the fishing.
Yeah.
Been on to that as well. I've been working with Dover District Council, Lindsay Reid. She's been, we've been in touch with people like the bailiffs and things like that. So they're looking into what they don't normally give a licence to anyone to fish under 16.
Yeah.
And those over 16 can apply. But they're looking into it along the Dower because they're all outside the police station fishing as well.
Well,
So,
Councillor Innes?
Yeah, I've recently had a conversation with our new EA contact, Environment Agency contact. The situation is, since 2007, the age of the licence has been extended to 13 to 16. That was a government initiative to get more people involved in sport. So the situation is, the EA told me that they only have 3 enforcement officers for fishing licences in that whole catchment area. They do it purely on an intelligence basis where the reports come in. And from my experience of living on the Dow for 10 years, it's generally summer holiday issues and it's kids who are actually under the age of the necessity of a licence.
Yeah.
So I can't really see the role the EA can take in that. However, if I would may suggest something, I think that we ought to have a notice in Breval at least and on our website for the Parish Council, just actually letting the population here know what the situation is with fishing on the Dow, that the majority it belongs to riparian owners and it's private,
Exactly.
you can't fish it, and also to remind them that if a parent takes a child out to fish, even though that child is under the age of a licence, that individual has to have a licence if he touches the rod or the reel. And I think there's a certain amount of ignorance about this because children let their children free to enjoy themselves in the summer holidays. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, what is the... I thought that it was necessary if the residents are trying to enforce their rights that they actually put a no fishing notice on their boundary.
I'm not sure the legality or the legal issues on that, but I'm not absolutely sure that a no fishing notice is in any way mandatory, but it's obviously a deterrent.
Right, no, I didn't know when we
But
queried it.
the question of
Yeah.
riparian rights
Yeah.
has been established for a very long time.
Yeah.
The trouble that I've had reported to me, which I relayed on to your good self, was youngsters actually fishing from the road.
yeah.
Now, I don't know whether the Kent highways have got riparian rights. I've never
To be
been
honest,
sure
I
about
think
that
we're
sort
all
of thing.
bouncing off of each other.
Yeah,
None
that's
of us
right.
know actually
But
what to do.
the two particular incidents that I'm referring to involved youngsters who actually caught quite big fish there and just left them, like on the bridge,
Yeah.
which wasn't very
Yeah.
nice.
The problem is that this takes place on the bridge, largely, which obviously creates obstruction of traffic and a danger for the people who are fishing. Now, technically speaking, I think if they're standing on the bridge and facing this way, they are poaching. If they're standing on the bridge the other way, I don't know. In terms of riparian rights. If they're fishing down this way, off the bridge, they are fishing in private waters. I don't know what happens the other side.
No.
Either way, you only get a mouthful of insults and then you're totally ignored.
Quite
But no, the Environmental Agency have been helping us, so, you know, we'll see.
I think the important aspect is that we publish the hotline number to report the fishing to the EA because they've told me they don't have enough people to cope with it. They'll go where the problem is. So, you know, if we get more reports on the telephone line on their website about the fishing,
Do you have access to that method of reporting?
Yes, or you can report it on the Dover District website.
Yeah. Is there any possibility that you could just email
Send it over to you?
this to our clerk?
Yeah.
So that we've got it.
Yeah.
I
And
can
I'll give you the contact telephone.
Yes, please.
She's more than happy to help all the time.
That's
and she's
fine.
been dealing with one of the residents
Yes.
along there that's reported it.
Okay.
So
Well,
she has been.
For what it's worth, I mean, I can certainly arrange for this to be put into Rival, although I'm rather doubtful about how many people read it.
Yeah.
But,
I think it's a very popular journal.
well,
But would it be worth putting a no fishing sign on the bridge where 90% of this takes place?
well, I
They're
mean,
not going to look at it, are they? They're not going to take notice.
but you've got to be. It's a little bit like the old one about no trespassing, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see, trespassing is a tort. No, trespass is a tort, and it's not a legal offence.
No,
And if we put up there no fishing,
normally encourages people to do something.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The only reason, Mr. Chairman, I raised it when I did a couple of years ago speak to an adult who was with the children, he seemed to recite what he could not do, and said if there wasn't signs, then they were allowed to fish there. And that's why I
think
read.
that's an old fisherman's tale.
Yes,
Well,
yes, but it would be good if we could.
let's do it this way.
Find
If
what
you
the rules
could
are.
I'll send you over
Let
my
our
contact, Lindsay. Yeah.
have the contact information,
Yeah.
and then we'll decide the best way to
Yeah.
deal with it, and
See where
notices
we
if
go from
possible.
there,
Okay?
Yeah.
Thank you. Has anybody else got any other questions for our PCSA?
Your nosy motorbike or bike also pauses at the corner between Craven Avenue and Hillside.
I thought he did get talking to. Is he back?
He was back during the week. He sits on the corner, revving,
And he revs, yes.
yes, and then he disappears off down Craven Avenue. So
It's quite early in the morning, isn't it?
this was during the night, about 10 o'clock.
Oh, right, okay.
So he's been doing that a few times. He doesn't, obviously you can't see his face,
No,
so yeah.
right.
The only other thing I'd just like to bring up
Yeah.
while you're here, I saw something the other day that I haven't seen for a very long time.
Not a police officer.
And no, I'm talking about lorries again, HGVs.
Yes.
Now, once upon a time, we were besieged with sort of reports of HGVs coming right the way along here
Yeah.
and so on. But since the signage that's been put up, although it's not 100%, down at the cricketers,
Yeah.
you know, for lorries that come into River, under the bridge, and then turn left and go along Buckland Avenue.
Yeah.
The ones that do come past that point are very few and far between. But the other day, it was one evening about 6, 7 o'clock, I set off for Dover and got towards the junction at the far end of the recreation ground, and there was a van just stopped with all the lights flashing in the middle of the road, and I was rather surprised about this because nobody seemed to be doing anything.
Yeah.
Anyway, eventually I decided it's ridiculous, something's going on here. So I'd started to do a 3-point turn, which I'd completed and came back, went down Byland Road, along past the mill and round that way. But before I left there, I witnessed what the problem was, and there was not one but 2 HGVs
Yeah.
had turned left and gone up Crabble Lane and they were reversing back down again. I'm not sure that there's
I
anything
don't
that
think those sat nav
more
take them on, do it?
be done about
It
it.
does
Does
actually.
it?
It's
If
very
they miss
weird.
Crabble Avenue, if it's just a car sat nav and they haven't all got
Yeah.
lorry ones,
Right.
it takes them up Crabble. Because you can get through, but they can't.
They look in that road
And they can
and
see
they're
there's an...
thinking, oh,
Oh,
that can't be it,
Yeah.
and then they go further on and
Yeah,
then
but
it
two
reroutes them.
Yeah.
2 trucks reversing backwards
Yeah,
down
well,
there.
I
It
have
was
that now
quite a
again.
sight.
Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah.
One was actually an English one, which was a DFDS, you know, the
Oh, really?
film.
No, we do get there.
Right,
That's why I don't
diverse.
know that
That's
should
right,
come.
Nicholas.
I'm still getting them stuck opposite my house when they come through the narrow bit of Lower Road.
Really?
Well, the problem is that people are parked legally, but they are, the legal parking along, I would say, 3 parking spaces prevents HGVs from getting through. And they, often at night at about 4 in the morning, people have to get taken out of their beds to move their cars.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work. The whole thing would be solved by 2 parking spaces worth of yellow lines, but this is probably less easy than it might appear.
Yes, you've brought this
Yeah,
up
I've
before.
brought it up before, it's still happening.
Hmm.
And cars are getting damaged still.
Right, so thank you very much indeed
No
for
worries, thank you. I just wanted to-
your continuing work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Yeah.
If he's allowed back in. He'll be back, yeah.
We'll come back
Maybe
to
Back, she wants
to the
to
district councillors. Shall we go around the table, Pauline?
No, I haven't. Thank you.
Christiane?
Oh, just one thing,
Oh.
sorry. I've reported I'm not sure if they've straightened them yet, the signs by the co-op, no entry signs. Something's hit them and they're facing the walls.
They often
Yeah,
Oh.
so I've reported them again.
don't. Yes.
So I've got a fault number, so I will check that they're going to do it.
Thank you very much.
Because you
for that.
can't see them when you come down the road now.
Thank you. Christiane?
I don't have really a lot. I just thought that we should set a date for an events meeting, as we have a date for coronation now, which is May.
6th, yeah.
6th of May. So I think
We have got something on here, item 11. Can I suggest that we
Yes.
bring this up there,
Yeah.
please?
Oh, that's it.
Okay?
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, so what I'll do is I've got a few points I'll review on as obviously DDC, and then because Nigel's not here, I'll try and do a little bit of KCC as well, just sort of bring you a little bit up to speed with KCC.
Okay.
So DDC, so the local plan, red lighting goes out with full council tomorrow, and then this is the last consultation period to the public before obviously the inspector has a look at it. So as we said before, River's been pretty lucky. There's no huge developments going on in River, but if you're concerned that any surrounding development, whether it be Whitfield Roundabout, anything, or even anything that's happening in Lyddon, put your comments on there, they will be well accepted and listened to. So that's that. Obviously now the new town square is open and up and running, sort of been mixed reviews about it. I personally quite like it. I'll drive past and see, it's great to see parents taking pictures of their kids
Yeah.
under the mist. It's really good. I've been working with the regeneration group for Dover, and some really good work coming out of there at the minute, and some really good officers. Some of the officers are sort of a breath of fresh air, really. They're doing a lot of stuff. You can don't realise, like, for example, when we have cruises into Dover now, there's actually bands and there's people out like singing and all that sort of stuff, and they're trying to even make this group of people that are doing this sort of do walks around Dover with people off cruises and
They've been doing that for a while.
yeah, so it's stuff that you wouldn't know is happening, so that's good. That's obviously about it really with DDC. Well, we're sort of losing the Queen, it sort of stopped all meetings.
Sure.
And sort of all slowly getting back with them now. KCC, so I was digging around for information at KCC the other day because there again wasn't a lot to report on. There's if you go on their website, there's energy grants available for people who sort of are on low income or elderly. So I can only suggest to residents, and if any residents listening,
Yes, I saw that.
you see that, brilliant, yeah. So particularly in Tottenham, 3 times a year, there's free payments a year. And I think they're even offering food vouchers. So if you're not, we'll just get that information out there.
Yes.
Police cadets, if anyone, the police cadets are volunteering, so if there's anything that you need doing in the village, sort of any leafleting or all that sort of stuff. I was in a meeting the other day and one of the police officers said that the police cadets are always looking, well they're not looking, but they're always being kicked up the backside, I suppose, to get out and do any volunteering. So if you need any help in the village, that's there.
That's good to know.
Can I just say a quick word about police cadets to praise them for their work at the Dover Rotary Club duck race, where they were absolutely brilliant. They were a great help. They were polite, amenable, and a delight.
Good.
And then,
Praise indeed.
Was it well supported?
yes. And then last is really obviously refugees. So up to today, Kent have got sort of 4,000 Ukrainian refugees we're housing at the minute. So
That's Kent.
that's Kent. Yeah, that's over Kent. And then we are just slowly, as I was saying to Pauline, as we're coming, we are now looking at the next year's budget. So that's
Good luck.
finished on the low really, because I was doing quite well. But,
Yes.
but that's about it, Chairman. That's all I've got. Obviously, if there's any questions.
Any questions for our district councillor, Bennett? Thank you very much, David.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, lovely. Thanks very much. Okay, and then obviously
Do you know if the Christmas market is back at the cruise terminal?
that we're looking at not at the cruise terminal, but there is going to be the Christmas lighting up ceremony that was in Dover, and we are working and looking at other events to hold in December. Actually DDC led, so obviously,
You'll keep us posted about that.
well, yeah,
Super.
yeah, and if anyone's ever got any problems, just give me a call. As you rang me this week, Clive, and I sort of
Yes.
I deal with a problem, a bit of a nightmare sometimes with emails because of working here, there, and everywhere. But if you ever got a problem, just call my phone and I'll pick it up as quick as I can. So,
Thank you, David.
lovely, thank you very much. Cheers, and take care.
Right, Mr. Chairman, all clear then. Chris?
Bear in mind, we're trying to be reasonably prompt. I missed the July meeting, I said no, I apologise, but in June, I have a comment about the London Road, Top Road, they re-tarmacked it and made a good job of that. They hadn't finished it by whitelaying in 1, and 2, there were quite a few drains had been blocked off by the surplus tarmac. Anyway, I've forgotten the name of the councillor that was here. I had reported it, and I did have a report number, and I passed it on by Andrew, and lo and behold, they've gone and cleaned them up. Not all of them, I'm afraid. Possibly because, say, cars or vehicles might have been parked more or less on top of it, near it.
Sure.
But at least there was a response there, and then sort of 2 out of 3 particular drains in that large lay-by have been done. And so when we do have, again, the downpours and mini flash floods up there, it has eased it. So it's a small success. Other than that, the only other comment I say is, the usual thing about speeding on the top road, which I'm sure you all know about. So.
Thank you. Patrick?
Right, over the last 2 weeks, I have had 7 questions from my immediate neighbours, to which I add my own, to know what's happening about the 20-mile-an-hour limit in their road.
It's in the pipeline. It's moving.
Do we have any more?
No, there's
Because my neighbours are assailing me on an almost daily basis.
It's been published that it is now sort of in the process of...
Do we have any idea of what that implies in terms of a time limit?
No, but I saw something in the last week that had been published about it.
It's also, there's a posting outside the car on the lamppost about
There is,
it.
there's,
Is there?
yes,
No,
Yes.
right outside the lamppost. They're quite a spoiled round, but it's
It's like
there.
a planning application.
Yeah.
That's right. It is.
So
The wheels are
that
turning.
usually stays.
Okay, I will
3
report
weeks.
that to my neighbours when they come back.
It's on the work
I mean,
programme,
all of
isn't it?
these
They're
sort of
gonna do it.
things, they don't just happen. They take quite a long time to happen. But there was a publication that I read, and it actually showed a little map on there going from the Dublin through to Meadowdean, including Riverdale. So yes, it's on the way.
We
As
have
soon as
no
we have any
influence over
further
the
news,
date.
I'm delighted to.
But we don't have any influence over the date at all. It's in the list, isn't it? And
Yes.
we know it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But we've got no idea, unfortunately. And that's not being vague, but that is the honest situation.
Yeah.
We can't influence the speed at which they do it.
Right.
Okay.
I've often found in my previous professional existence that being insistent helps occasionally, possibly it doesn't here, we'll see. But I'd be very pleased if somebody could let me know when they do have more news, so I can pass it on to my neighbours who are getting increasingly anxious.
You said there's a notice.
No, I
There's a notice outside the
Yes,
co-op.
there is.
Oh,
yes.
Tied to the lamppost.
Yes,
as well.
yes.
Have a look at that.
I'll look at that.
And
Draw
direct.
other
Yeah.
people's attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Michael?
Yes, the Environment Agency on Friday, October 7, cleared just over 110 metres of channel below the mill down to Kingston Close. That request was put in on the 12th of August with photographic records, and there were some excuses about the heat wave stopping the work being done, but it's now been completed. Okay.
Good.
Yeah. So whether that makes any difference to the mill, well, I don't know, but
It'll make
it is
a
a fair,
big
I mean, at least you can
difference,
see
yeah.
there's some water there now.
Yes,
It's a
exactly.
fair metre or more channel cleared all the way down.
Yes.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Thank you. Next.
No, Mr. Chairman, I've got 2 or 3 things to bring up, which will take up time, so no.
Okay. Right, we'll move on to item 6 then, Andy.
Yes, I actually had a couple of queries about the bus, the Ridgeway bus. The question is from please can you confirm that the River Parish Council will make strong representations to Stagecoach to ensure that the Ridgeway will continue to be served by a bus. I've written to Matthew Arnold, Stagecoach, who states it's a commercial decision to reduce the service from 3 buses now to 2. The evening services subsidised by KCC are also to be withdrawn. I gather that a meeting at KCC that after a meeting at KCC may be changed.
Yeah, had a meeting to discuss money.
Although, as I understand it, the evening services aren't subsidised. Or are they subsidised?
Somewhere.
Okay. Actually, yes, Dale, I've had 2 emails about this and also just a query on Facebook just asking what the current situation was.
At the last meeting that we had here, Councillor Collar explained that, if you remember, at some length I brought him on first because he needed to go up to Whitfield, and he explained that as far as this sort of thing was concerned, that the KCC had announced or been told that they had to reduce their budget quite considerably. And as far as the subsidies to local bus services were concerned, which ran, I believe, at, if I remember correctly, £6 million per annum, that this had got to be reduced to 4 million. Anyway, he then wrote to the author of this letter and explained this in more detail. But at around about the same time, Kent County Council made an announcement, quite a significant one, that in fact they were pausing this reduction or deliberation of this reduction in subsidies for bus services for the time being. So nothing is happening about that for the moment. So that's where that rests.
Does that include the bus?
Sorry, no, I was just going to say, but we obviously did push DDC, to fight it if they could. But they were saying the hand
Does
was pretty
include
much
school
tied.
buses as well.
Yes.
Yeah. Pat-
Sorry, Pat.
I'm just wondering if this includes the bus that takes me to the door of the Marquis of Granby. They're threatening with cancel as well.
Well, I mean, the whole question of subsidies, came out on the BBC local news at 6 o'clock. That's where I saw it, to my surprise. That the whole question
It's being
of
looked at.
the subsidies was now being sort of stayed for the time being. So nothing
Yep.
is happening until it's, reinstated.
So we get completely bust.
Andrew,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
that's it. Okay,
That was the second question.
let's press on.
Oh, look, thank you.
Right, planning. Pauline.
Thank you. Quite a few here. The first one, the boundary fence, I have been up and had a look. It isn't what I would have chosen, but it does look like they're going to be planting behind it. I'm not quite sure why they took it down, unless it hid light or something.
First of all, this is a retrospective
It
application.
is, it's already there, I have seen it, and it is weathery. It isn't that colour anymore. It has got dark already. Oh, yeah. So it's, yeah, it had all those lovely bushes that are quite high and thick, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. It is retrospective. It is within the height. Just.
Sorry.
I believe I'm right in saying that if any sort of structure on a road facing elevation needs planning permission if it's over 1 metre in height.
Yeah, it's 1.8, so it's within a grantable one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any objection. Well, there's one objection. When I take that back, there's one person so far has objected. But you can see it as you're getting up there, but as I said, it has started weathering. Whether they make them take it down again, I'm not sure. It probably won't get to committee as there's not enough objections for it to go to committee, and it's retrospective, so.
Yes.
But I'm not sure. I mean, the bushes could have hid light. They were quite large. So it's no higher than the bushes, it just doesn't look as
Have we
nice.
planted something there behind it?
It looks like someone's been doing something behind it when I went past, as if they might be putting some...
But it looked to me as if I could be
They're doing the driveway as well, they're doing an awful lot of work.
Yeah, it looked to me as if I've no way of knowing whether this is true or not, but it looked to me from the picture in the top left-hand corner as if that hedge, which was a mighty thing,
It was a tall hedge.
that looked to me as if it was a lot of shrubs that have been planted there that are all merged over the
It
years.
was quite high.
And perhaps a new resident had moved in.
It does look like it with the amount of work that's going on.
Get rid of all that and put a nice fence there.
Yeah. Obviously it will be
Not
up to
realising
planning.
that it would need planning permission.
No, there are other fences along that road. Most are bushes, I must admit, but there are driveways, some are concrete over the whole thing, so it will depend on what planning now.
Well, I mean, whatever we say about it, it needs planning permission,
Does.
and it will be determined by
The officers, I should
Okay.
think. Yeah, it won't go to planning, I don't think. It
no.
will go to the officers.
Any other comments?
Has anyone got anything they want to put in? Or
No.
no?
Okay.
No comment.
No comment on that one. Right, our next one is Deanwood Road, which is the rear extension, and solar panels, which I get are very popular.
I wonder why.
Yeah, I wonder why. That and wood burners. It's quite a big extension, but it seems to be quite a few solar panels actually going in, isn't there? Yeah. Which I think you still get a subsidy for, don't you, if you sell electricity back to which is what I think they do.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
I've never really gone into that.
There is room, and it doesn't appear to overlook anyone when I've gone past it,
No.
when you look at it, and it looks from down, over the top. It doesn't seem to affect anyone as such, because next door seems to have lots of little buildings, little
I mean, looking at the roof plan, It looks like quite a business
It is quite,
opportunity there, doesn't it?
yes, quite a big,
What's happening to the garage though?
it's quite a big extension.
The garage is going.
Garage is going, yes. They've got a driveway, so, yeah. There's a driveway there.
Well, it's not the first and it's not, won't be the last.
Most of them along there have had extensions built along Deanwood Road, or various other things, but they've all had extensions by the looks of them. I haven't got any comments on that, has anyone else?
Anybody else?
No.
Okay.
Then we come to my favourite one. Ferry Road, which is a back garden extension.
This is amazing.
This is huge.
Absolutely amazing, isn't it, this one?
I'm not sure if it will get passed. For the simple, it looks like a factory. I think it's just the way they've sent the plans. It is. It's a long bungalow, isn't
Mm.
it?
I was having some difficulty sort of sorting out who was the owner, because it looks as if it's been put in by a prefabricated timber firm.
Mm. It is a most peculiar,
Yeah.
long.
There was another one that was very similar, that we had a little bit further along
yeah.
towards the church. If you see
Yes.
what I mean.
Mm.
That must be one of the last plots of land they can do that on.
It is, by the looks of
Yes.
it, when you go, I mean, there is room for it.
Yes.
It will be tight against
All
the
that
one.
is very long, starchy gardens.
Yeah, it will be tight against one of them,
Yeah.
the one this side, which is
Yeah, very
number
tight, yeah.
17.
Have there been any objections put in on that?
I haven't seen any, no.
There,
Only not
there
for a
wasn't
couple
when
of
I
days.
checked the site, but
Yeah.
it's only just opened.
Open, yeah.
Yeah. It's quite near on this side, but so are the houses to some of them when you look at them as you go along.
It's a two-storey affair,
Yeah,
and of course with the
Wait.
Velux lights.
yeah. It's angled at the top, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
My opinion is it might be a bit big for the site, but there is room for it.
The garden left, isn't it?
Yeah, there's still plenty of garden left and parking.
If anybody's going to object to it, which presumably it's number
17,
17.
Yeah, this
And so far
Yes,
there isn't
yeah.
it. I presume he must have spoken to his neighbours first, a lot of them do.
Well,
You'd be silly not to.
they should.
Yeah,
same plot, smaller
it's
It
quite
is,
all
big.
of the
yeah,
others,
it
yes.
is, yes, yeah.
Even
Yeah.
the
I mean,
narrow-
I'm not exactly enamoured with it. I mean, what some people have done on there, where there's been a detached house in Valley Road, of course, you've got a wider plot, you know, where it
Yeah.
goes down to, and there've been a couple of incidents there to where two people in semis have actually pulled their resources to make a wider plot.
Yeah. It doesn't appear to interfere with anyone. As you said, the only one that would interfere, it would be objecting, I presume. would be
Number 17.
Number 17, and I
Yeah.
haven't seen anything from them. So, of course, if he does it, maybe next door might want to as well.
Well, as I say, there was another one,
Further along.
very similar,
Mm.
that was approved.
Yeah.
So I think the probability is that this one will.
Might do. They want you to build houses at the moment.
Is that number 57?
That's on the other road. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's in their back garden. 57's back garden. But it'll be right next to number 17 of Valley, you know, on the other road. So,
Yeah.
then we've got 138 Lower Road.
So we're no comments on that.
I've got no comments. Is anyone else?
No.
138 is a rear front timber balcony.
Single store,
Okay,
rear
right,
extension,
yeah.
nothing unusual about that.
Yeah. Front timber balcony, so it's external. I don't know where the balcony's going.
Yeah.
To get to that mixed development,
Oh, right there.
balcony under commercial development, you need a full
Yeah.
application for that.
I'm not sure if that balcony.
1, 3, 8.
I don't think it overlooks the
It's-
square.
It's always overlooking with balconies. That's the.
It's the fact that it will then be in front of the line of houses.
Mm.
It depends how the line of houses go on that road.
Actually, the balcony won't be in front. If if you take a line between the other two houses,
It's in front of the building line, isn't it?
Oh,
It's there.
No,
That one.
yeah.
building line is there, isn't it? There and there, so it's back.
back, yeah.
So it is back, so
Yes,
it's all right
yeah.
then. They don't like it if it's on the front window.
No.
It comes out too
And
far.
that's overlooking Lower Road.
Yeah. I mean, there have been houses built around river with balconies originally.
Yes.
With balconies on them.
Yeah.
Two next to the co-op, though, haven't they?
A few up in
Yeah.
Slane too.
Yeah. They're just getting rid of the conservatory. It looks as if it's going to be quite useful for them, what they're doing.
Yeah.
I have no objections to that.
Any comments? Anybody?
Any comments? No? What have we got now?
This is the one in
This-
Meadway.
Yeah. This is the detached annex, isn't it?
Ah, this is the separate,
It's completely separate, isn't it? Yeah.
take down the garage.
Yeah, I presume this is going to be the equivalent of a granny flat.
Well,
It's got all the
all the
utilities.
hallmarks of it, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got all the utilities. It's a big plot.
Yeah.
It is a big plot.
Well, it's wide, isn't it?
So if you get it in there, there's parking for 2 cars. You still get to the back, can't you? Yeah, because their garage comes over quite a bit, doesn't it? So they've got the room. It's just, I haven't seen objections for that either. I haven't checked for a couple of days, but it wasn't on there the other day.
No. No, when I checked, there weren't any objections.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I'm not sure. I mean, it seems a solid idea if you want to. It is a completely separate residence, so I presume it will have a separate address, or will it? I'm not quite sure how that stands.
Well, 8A.
Yeah, it'll have to have some sort
I
of
guess
address.
if it shares the same utility supplies, it will be considered a single dwelling.
Yeah, but of course
When
it
they
is.
say for ancillary use,
Yes.
That means I interpret that in the fact that it's an intrinsic part of the main household. But
Ancillary
maybe not.
means
well,
occasional.
they put the term ancillary in there for a reason.
So they don't pay rates on it as well. If it's a separate dwelling, you pay rates and have a number.
Yeah.
Yeah. It might only be used temporary, holiday home or something like that, or for when relatives stay.
The other thing about that type of application is that the local authority, in granting a planning permission for something like this, they do sometimes put conditions on there that it's not to be used for separate letting.
A family home. Yeah, they might do. Yeah. Because yeah.
But I don't think it doesn't affect anybody or
It
anything
doesn't
else.
affect
does
anyone,
it?
it's plenty of room next door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doesn't affect. I assume it's going to be used occasionally.
Yeah.
They might put on it so they can't have it as a holiday let.
Or sell it off separately.
Yes.
There was that one, you can't see it anymore, but as you go up Travel Hill, out of River, go underneath the railway bridge, and when you get to the bend, going round to the right, all the overgrown sort of stuff up here, there's a bungalow
Yes,
in there. And that bungalow was built for the people that ran that old folks home. Because they were living off Lyndhurst Road at the time, so some years ago, and they thought that the idea would be that this would be for the matron or somebody, the person that was in charge, sort of living there, so that they were on site. But that had conditions put on it, that it could never be,
They might have
only
that
be
one.
used in conjunction with.
I mean, is it worth putting any up, suggesting any or not bothering?
Well, the one I'm talking about there
It was different.
was a business.
It was,
Yeah.
yes.
This is
This is
private, isn't it?
And he has put ancillary in there, so
Yes.
I'll take him on that.
Okay. I think we'll leave it at that. Unless anybody's got any other comments. Any other planning matters? Apart from that petition?
No.
Okay. All done with planning?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Pauline. Item 8.
Mr Chairman,
Mr Vice Chairman.
I'll be as brief as possible, but there's a number of things there. The first one is, as I alluded to in July even, that we've had, and I say we, Andrew, Pauline and I, discussions with Rangers, with the Football Federation, unfortunately not Sport England because they failed to turn up at any of our meetings. But the situation is that Rangers are coming back into the recreation ground. They erected last weekend a number of goals. They're in the recreation ground now. They're investigating how they have the grass cut, where the lines have got to be painted, because we cut it fairly long, and we leave the grass cuttings there. If they paint the lines, as soon as the wind blows, the lines disappear. So this weekend, possibly even tomorrow, there will be a decision with regard to that, but they've come up with an answer. They will fund the cost of cutting the pitches and the lines, and they will do the lining. We haven't entered into any formal agreement with them because we still have the stumbling block of Sport England being very unhappy with us, that we have a lease on the old clubhouse, which they had funded the parish council for. We were unaware of it, and they're saying that there's still 2 years to go. You can't do anything you want on that, and we don't want you to demolish in any way the changing rooms. We want them to remain as changing rooms. So that is the situation we're in. Rangers are perfectly happy. They were, I won't use the word desperate, but they were very keen to find somewhere. They were using the Danes and Elmsvale, costing them a lot of money, a lot of inconvenience, and most importantly it was a disjointed club. With this, 80% of what they do will be in the recreation ground, and the balance will be at the Christchurch Academy. So they're in, they are struggling slightly for money, and I said I would ask tonight if we would help them. They've managed to raise the funding for all of the goals, and that's many thousands of pounds. They've used up club funds, but they are looking for a container, and they've asked if we could help with £2,000 towards the cost of the container. We will have 16 or 18 junior sides mixing and matching and playing there. There will be, I think it's the Shepherdwell League or the Canterbury League. They'll be playing once every other week or something, a league game. So it will be the recreation ground as it used to be, or possibly as used as well as it ever has been. They will be using the old junior football area, the seniors area, and at times the area behind the new playground. But they will use it on Saturday mornings, maybe part of it on a Sunday afternoon. But it does mean that the rec will be fully utilised, and I hoped and thought that this would satisfy Sport England. They would say, great, we've got football back. It's mixed teams, so it's,
Yes.
I think, thank goodness, ladies football is really taking off at the moment, but these are mixed teams. There's 16 or 18 sides. They're local children, so a mixture of River, Dover, they can't all be from River. but they know that they have to foot any bills. They've gone for funding on the pitches.
Yes.
The pitches are going to be improved by the Football Federation, who are really keen to do this, but are saying, well, we're trying to push Sport England, but Sport England are proving difficult. We've asked for a further meeting, so I can't move any forward further on that, or we can't, but I would like to say that we do have football back in the rec. It is definitely here for as long as they decide. Sport England are saying they should have other toilet facilities, not the public toilets. In the old clubhouse we had a single toilet. So we have said, look, if necessary, we will make the toilets that are in the new area available. So whatever we do at this stage in time, but Rangers are coming, Football Federation are 100% behind us, but we're still struggling with Sport England to say, yes, redevelop the old changing rooms, use them, but use them partially, to allow Rangers to have some, if you like, clubhouse facilities, but the use of toilets. So a little bit of an impasse, but we are pushing ahead. The Football Federation are subsidising the costs on the ground, and this is some thousands of pounds a year for 3 or 5 years. So it'll be bringing the pitches back up to the condition that they were saying they needed to be in. Yes. So that is where we are. So on the football front, it's good. We have now, as I say, football back in the rec, and they will start, as soon as the pitches are lined, they will start to use it. But at the moment they can't use it because the grass is too long, the grass is blowing, but I think come this weekend that will be resolved.
Yeah, someone looking at it the other day.
What I would like to ask here and now is they need £2,000. We've spoken to them about it, and they've reduced their club funds pretty substantially to manage what they have done, and this 2,000, without this, it means those goals will stay in the open, and the danger there is they will be vandalised.
Yes.
So what they asked me to ask here is if we would please assist them with £2,000, which is a similar sum to which we did with the tennis club, and we have bowls club. So that's one thing I would like to formally ask.
Before we go into that, 8A actually talks about to receive a proposal to provide storage.
This is storage container.
Yeah, so that would surely need planning permission.
We can put a container on the pitch, it doesn't need planning.
Temporary structure.
It's not, it's movable.
Yeah.
And where would this go?
The idea is the far end of the tennis courts, butting onto the tennis courts, the back would be facing not Mannering Drive, but I suppose it's Dower side or something. Yes, Dower side. Yeah. It's
out of the way there.
It's temporary storage, but that's what they need, and they need it desperately. They're worried their goals are there. So I said I would bring it up, but that's the storage, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, and it's not permanent storage.
No.
It's
once
it's
they
a
get
container,
somewhere permanent, it will
but
go.
it-
Yeah, it could go.
So that's A. I mean, Mr. Chairman, is it possible? Can we discuss the £2,000 for Rangers?
Do we have it? Is the first question.
Do we have what?
£2,000.
Yes, we do. Yes.
We do, right.
Yes.
Well, good idea.
Any comments?
Yeah,
Yeah. Good
good to
idea.
see the place being used again.
I certainly second that.
Absolutely.
I proposed it.
I'll second it.
Second.
All in favour?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Andrew. I'll see you tomorrow for a check.
I mean,
No, thank you very much
they
indeed.
contain-
It is, but it is important that the rec will be back to not full use, but it will be used for certain parts of the weekend, certain parts, sometimes of an evening, but it will be used for what it used to be used for. Right. Unfortunately, item B, 8B, I had asked John Hill to patch up the tarmac path, and we need to spend a few £100 to do it. John was preparing a quote but came back and said, well, it's getting to the end of its days, it's starting to become brittle. We then had from Mark Rose and from David Beanie a note that there was funding available. I got all excited. I asked Mark Rose, would they cover this? And he said, yes, of course. And they turned us down and said, no, it's not for you, it's for ancillary groups. So they said, no, we misunderstood it. So I'm as much in the dark as you, but we have a problem with that tarmac path.
Is this a particular tarmac path or paths generally?
It's the path from the middle gate and the path from the Travel Lane gate, those two paths that then meet behind the Bowls Club. In order to look at the funding, I've got John Hill to mail me, and I'll put it somewhere here. He was on holiday in Mallorca, but he'd measured it. And John mailed me to give me two prices, and it was approximately 3,000 on one and 4,000 on the other. And we thought, great, we'll get this funded. We can't, but basically we have a problem sooner or later, but not very far away.
Like the winter, will it?
We are going to have to replace that tarmac.
I take it could be a trip hazard and things like that.
It is now. That's why I asked him. But I will speak to David Beanie and Mark Rose again to say it is a lot of money. Is there any way they can get us help? One of the things we were worried about, and Pauline mentioned it, which is quite good, or very valid, that our position normally they'd make this available if you're short of cash, and at the moment we're not short of cash. But please bear it in mind, I'm not saying now we have to do it, but we have to make serious consideration, because I had to get the steps near that middle gate repaired because they suddenly collapsed, and I had no time to ask, can I do it? We had to do it because the kids would have come down there, the top one had collapsed, one of the lower ones had. John then half finished it and his guy left him, so he lost his labourer, and that's why it's taken so long to finish it. But basically, unfortunately the recreation ground is going to prove to be fairly expensive short term. But the tarmac pass, when John gets back, he's on holiday at the moment, I think he's back on Monday, I'll be speaking to him, and then we'll look at it and just see if we patch it, will it keep us going? And at the next meeting I'll come back with a full report, Mr Chairman. But that's both of those.
For the next meeting? For
the next meeting, yes, because as Pauline said quite rightly, we get a bad winter, it will really, it will go, yes, it's cracking. And C is the play areas. We have, with Robin's help, and Robin and I have met 2 or 3 times recently, been cobbling together. If something starts to show wear and tear, Robin's taped it up, he's tried to tighten it, but basically there were a number of things that needed doing, and looking at it with Robin, it was impossible for either of us to say what was dangerous, what was not dangerous. So I got Safe Play down, and they inspected it, and they came back with a report showing about £10,000 worth that could potentially be spent, or needed to be spent, but some were low risk and others were medium. There was nothing in the high risk bracket. But the low risk or the medium risk came to about £3,000, and they've said if you don't do it, you'll have to take it out of action. It's not going to last. It's a safety hazard. So I've said to them.
Presumably, this is because of the popularity of it.
Oh, It's unbelievable, Mr. Chairman. It's so busy. It's so busy. But I've asked them to look at the medium with a view to them effecting those repairs, and that's just over £3,000 worth. I've asked them, once they've done that, then to come back in 3 months and to evaluate the playground in its entirety and whether any of the low risk have moved into medium risk or need shutting. I've asked them to come back now for the next 12 months on a 3-monthly basis to look at it, because there's no way we can have children using it, even if some of the problems are misused by bigger children. You know, we've got to keep it up. So unfortunately, I've asked them to do the medium items, and it takes 2 or 3 months for them to get the equipment. Everything, and they're saying, is becoming so much more expensive at the moment. But I've asked them to do what were the medium risks. There was nothing high risk, but then to evaluate in 3 months and basically to tick away and make certain that we keep it in the condition as close as is possible to that it should be. And we did learn by that hanger that we learned that if it goes wrong, do it quickly, because leaving it till it was desperate, it cost us twice as much as we thought it would do. But I am sorry, but I've met with Robin 2 or 3 times recently, which is good. And I mean, Robin is really committed to making the wreck work, and he is. But he is saying we can't keep cobbling it together. We've got to deal with it properly, and the only way we can do it is to have a quarterly survey done, and whatever it is of medium risk, they need to put right.
So it's 5 years old, the playground.
Yes, some of it, some of the repairs refer to the old as well, but they said the old equipment is standing up so well considering the age. There's very little to do there.
And
there's there's a bit of flooring that they've included in their medium risk that they're going to do in the old play area, but they said the amount to do in the old play area is minimal. And the thing that Robin pointed out to me at the weekend was that the zip wire, which we recently had repaired, and they put the old sort of spring on it, they should, or we should have said, no, put the new super duper spring on, because they said that will put up with the adults, the bigger ones using it. And you look at it, they're lads as big as we are on it, sometimes 2 at a time. And that spring's already condensed down. So they've come back and said, right, what you need is the bigger new spring. The other one costs 300, this one costs 500, but you're going to have to do it soon because that spring's going to go completely. But it is the popularity of it that it's great to have, but it really is a problem. So
the name of the firm?
Yeah, it's Safe Play. It's the ones that Mary always used. They're the ones that I'm just looking for it now.
That's all right.
It's a normal 100. It's one's Safe Play. So I was just gonna, but it's Emma is a young lady there, but she was Mary's contact, and she's absolutely brilliant. None of them are cheap, but that equipment is so expensive to replace, and it really is. To repair it now costs as much as it nearly did for us to buy it. But that, unfortunately, I was a little bit worried tonight, but I need to give you all of the news, but it's under control. It's under, everyone says that about me, yes. But it is under control, but it's the only way that we can responsibly run that playground. It's got to be inspected, what needs doing has got to be done, and that's where we are, Mr. Chairman.
So, just to summarise then, are we looking to authorise the medium risk stuff
yes,
at
please.
this stage?
Yes, if I could ask you to please back me. I have authorised them to do it because it'll be 2 months before they do it. So I have asked them to do the medium items, which come to just over £3,000. Yes.
Do I have a seconder for that?
Thank you.
Christiane, all in favour? I think
Thank you all. No, I really
It
apologise,
cost a lot more.
but we need to keep it
Yeah.
tip top. You know, we've got
Yeah.
tape on bits and pieces that Robin put on. We shouldn't be doing it. And I mean, if it wasn't for Robin, you know, other bits would be out of action.
Yeah.
Well, if these things fall to bits and people have accidents, we'll be seen to be liable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So sorry, Mr. Chairman, that's me finished as quickly as is possible. I spent a lot of money. I do apologise, but important.
Put in a good cause.
Yes.
Liability insurance.
Right.
It used to be all about publicity, but it's a good effort, isn't it?
Thank you all.
Okay, well, I don't think we're doing too badly so far. Item 9, Patrick.
Right, do you have the copies of them? They're rather very pretty self-explanatory. I talked to the contractor again today. When he's talking about the exterior of the phone box, he means everything that's red, including the inside bits, you know, that are red. He reckons it'll take him about 4 days. He sent me another mail subsequently saying that, yes, confirming that everything is red, that obviously while the paint is wet, he'll tape around the outside and make sure people can't get near it. He takes no responsibility of vandalism while it's wet, but he will give every sort of signal, you know, putting tapes at distance all the way around notices and everything else, and hope for the best. You know, he could do it now, or he could do it in spring, depending on how we feel about it. I personally think that's a perfectly adequate quote for the painting. Now, there are 2 other elements involved here. One is we need to replace the telephone notices, which are very badly damaged. Now we have a choice. You can get them online, the telephone, with plastic panels put up at the top, no problem at all. Or we could decide to put up a library notice rather than a telephone notice, which could be done very easily by overnight up the road. It's a question of policy. Do we put back the telephone sign, or do we put up a library sign? That is something.
Question.
Yes?
Question. I think in my last rival notes, I did make a comment that this was something that we had decided as a parish council to do, to acquire this. But in the meantime, somebody unknown has come along and turned it into some form of library.
Yes.
Now, I don't know who it is, I don't know if anybody else does, but the point is, I appealed to that person in there, assuming that, which is a big assume, that they read the rival. But we don't want to stand in their way, or necessarily, but we want them to come forward and identify themselves and work with us, work together. Now, has any attempt been made to do this?
No. I have talked to the co-op, I've talked to Katie, nobody knows who's putting this. Basically, there are a couple of ladies who come jogging by every day who tidy it up twice a week. A lot of people are participating, a lot of people are keen. There's minor vandalism about children who take some books and throw them in the river, but not that much. I think it's a great initiative, I think it's fine.
Yeah,
but it would be nice to have some control of it, but there's no way we can do it.
Well,
Nobody
I
will
mean,
tell us.
the fact of the matter is, we are now the owners. And if we went ahead and, well, we did this or we didn't do it, if anybody sort of got their fingers trapped in a door or something like that, we're going to be the ones that are going to be liable. So I think we must insist that these people that are running this thing, I mean, while this work's going on, they'll have to get out, won't they?
No, we can work around them.
Really?
No,
How
it
can you
should
paint
be.
the interior when it's full of books? I mean, you hardly get a mouse in there when the books are in there.
Yeah, they're going to have to
I
take
mean,
the books
I mean,
out.
they're going to have
Well,
to.
they basically, they're not going to come forward. I don't believe they're necessarily actively running it now. They've set it up. Other people are tidying it and keeping it going and recording it. And I don't think we'll ever find out who put the initial books in there.
And you said you would take the books in, didn't you?
I would, but I'm reluctant really. I think the co-op will probably do it for me if necessary. But I don't think we actually need to take them out.
No, I think we ought to, because we're going to have to shut it off. Otherwise,
Well,
you're going to have
well,
someone
it's
trying to open
going
the
to be
door to get a
shut
book.
off. It's going to be shut off anyway. It's going to be taped round about a foot round the outside. You know, how else can you can't actually shut it off? It doesn't lock per se. Mm?
Would there be a lock put on it?
Well, I mean, hopefully the door will be refurbished sufficiently.
Yes, I've talked to my man about the door.
Because it's
Shut
got to, because at the moment it can't shut, it's rotted to pieces.
No, he reckons he can fill it. If not, it's just one piece of wood that will be required. We're not talking anything
So it will
major
shut
here.
eventually.
Yeah, no,
We're
Patrick,
not taking
I'm all in favour of doing it. I must admit, for me, we brought a telephone box. That's what it was, that's what it is. What we decide to use it for, I would not be in favour of calling it the library.
No.
But it's a phone, it's telephone, well, it's a telephone.
Technically,
But
it's not a library
we'll-
anyway. It's a
but-
book
Well,
swap.
technically it's not a telephone box,
It's a
either,
book
because
swap.
it doesn't
No,
have a telephone in it, so it's
we brought an old telephone box.
Does it have
We want to
conditions when we
refurbish
bought
it. How much are the panels, Patrick? Do we know?
Actually, I don't know.
Right.
I found them online there, so I can find out.
I
Because
said it was telephone.
While he's redecorating, it would be silly not to replace those
Oh,
panels.
they have to be replaced with something.
Yep,
It's
yep.
a question whether we replace them with library or telephone. That's all.
I say telephone.
I think it's got conditions on it, hasn't it?
Just because
I don't think on the signage, no.
It's supposed to be a telephone box.
Sorry?
it's the whole joke of it,
It's
really.
not, yeah, we put that on, no problem at all. We're
Well,
not
it's
talking
all-
very much, we're just single
Colours on
figures,
it.
well, double figures,
Paint
you
it
know.
blue.
I'll get on to it. I
But-
first
but-
wanted to know what we wanted to do with it before I went down that line. But you will have a strong reaction from the village if you decide to empty out the library.
I think not
I'm
while
not
we're,
actually saying.
not
How
while
long
it's
it's
being,
been maintained?
while it's being refurbished, I think that's
Well, it takes
perfectly.
4 days to refurbish, so, you know.
Yeah, well, they'll just have to have 4 days with it shut.
Yes,
Yeah.
and I don't
Well, you
think,
can't
if,
shut it, you just put the tape round it.
Look, if it's a problem, I take the books in.
Yeah, take the books up.
You'll take it in for me,
I-
Michael,
How
I'm
many
not
books
sure.
are there?
I agree. I think we've got to do this. I mean, after all said and done, we are, as I said just now, we are the owners
Yeah.
of
We
this.
put them in the recreation garage for, you know.
oh, we need changing, you know, it's what England are come, yes. Yes,
well,
yes.
for one
No,
week.
absolutely, Mr Chairman,
I
that's a
mean,
good idea.
I think the way
Up again.
I would suggest, or one way I would suggest that we do it, it's exactly the same when we get this pathetic vandalism in the loos along here,
Yeah.
that they have to be closed for a few days while the repairs are being done. I think that a notice should be stuck on the door that this is going to be closed from the 1st of November, say, you know,
Give it
for
a couple of
period
weeks, yes.
1 week,
Yep,
or
yep.
2
Yeah,
weeks or
just
something.
refurbishment, that
Yes,
is
yes,
absolutely
but-
fine.
Yep.
Don't want to put notice on the door, you want to put it forward of the door on the tape, obviously, you don't want anybody getting near the door.
And that the you know, the materials that are in there will have to be removed. And if they don't remove them, we'll remove
Well,
them.
No, nobody else is going to remove it.
Once we know a date when this is happening, we can put a
Yeah.
As long as you give them a couple of days
As long as
notice,
we
it's going to be
social
refurbished.
As long as we
media,
put a notice up,
Yeah.
put it on social media as well, and then.
yeah.
No.
But I think subject to that, then
I mean, everybody
think-
will be really pleased about it, that
I
it
think
looks
so.
nice and
Yeah.
we're not destroying
What's made
the
it look
idea.
bad is that they've painted the post box next to it. That
Yes.
looks
It's
like
a
new,
little
it's
bit
never been
Well,
so
that's the
good.
part that's
So
around
yes,
there.
Yeah.
we need to paint it. We do need sensibly to remove the books. We do need
Yes.
and can put them back.
Mm.
It's popular. If we find a better use for it, going forward, or if it becomes a problem of vandalism,
Yes.
etc., then we may have to consider putting a lock on the door and keeping it just as an empty
Well,
phone box,
up
which would
to
be a
now-
pity. Yeah.
Up to now, it hasn't been a problem of
Yeah.
vandalism. Half
Yeah.
a dozen books have been taken
Yeah.
up and thrown in the
So-
river, and that's it
Yeah.
in several weeks.
But I think everyone is saying it's working. It's disappointing that nobody knows who's done it, but let's get it decorated.
They won't tell us. But there are a number of joggers and things, when they go past in the morning, they rearrange the books, they tidy them up.
Yeah.
It's been adopted as a village project,
Mm.
and I think that's pretty good. It works up at Whitfield, it works up in a number of other places.
I'm sure they don't mind that we're going to do it up for them then.
Yeah. No, but I think we need to do it up.
Yes.
It is a
That's
sorry
right.
state.
That's a
I
nice
would
quote as well.
I would suggest we do it as quickly as is possible, because the winter's going to make it even worse.
Yeah, it needs to be done soon.
And once it's brought up to some standard, it can be then quite easily kept up to a decent standard outside.
Right.
Yeah.
I provided the contractor with the cost, with the quote for the paint, which is £47.50. He's not taking any margin on it, he's just buying it offline and applying it.
Okay. So, are we agreed then that, as the owners, we will refurbish it,
Yeah.
and we will put a notice on there from the 1st of November?
Well, you need to see
Well,
what
I'll
your...
find out when my man can start from that.
Yeah.
That won't
Okay.
come in any sooner.
Would you
He
better
said
help-
he's filling.
Would you better help with the notice, Andy? Would you let Andrew, Patrick, would you let Andrew know when?
I can print a notice myself, it's not a problem.
Well, I'd rather Andrew did it, if you don't
Okay,
mind, because we've
Send
done
it
this,
to me by
Yeah,
email, Andrew. and I'll
we've
use
done
it
this
when
before.
required.
and, in the toilets or at the recreation ground, when we've had this petty vandalism. So, if you find out, let Andrew know.
Yeah, I
We'll
will.
get the notice on there, and then if the person who's been setting this up in this way cares to sort of remove everything temporarily,
Oh, right.
well and good, otherwise we'll do it.
Yeah. But,
I'll see if my friend at the co-op will help me with it. So it's easier than taking it all the way out to my place.
Patrick, what may be a time factor is those panels with telephone. That could actually...
Oh, well, that's a dead easy DIY job. It doesn't have to...
Oh, sorry, I think you said they had to be done
No.
when he decorated it.
No, they could slide in.
I don't know how they go. Yep.
So we do have the estimate that Patrick has obtained, so presumably we need to approve this?
Yeah.
Is that a problem? Approve this?
No.
We can do it here and now?
Yep.
Right. Proposer? Patrick?
Oh, yes, I'll propose it.
Seconder? Michael?
I'll get on to
All in
John
favour?
Neal tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, the toilets have been not vandalised anymore since the bricks
The
been
last time.
They
moved.
kicked, yes, but
It's been really good that the
two
bricks.
holes in the wall though. I mean, I just don't understand it.
It was the bricks that were outside. Almost every weekend I would find them crumbled and smashed
They
against
move all,
the
yeah.
And since they're gone, it's a lot tidier now when I come in there.
Okay.
It's just
Patrick,
not what you want to find
can
when
you
come from a London book.
Source those telephone panels, the nameplates, and
Yes, of course.
I would suggest on
No, that's
WhatsApp.
all right, I can sort them and I will bill them for you after.
Yeah, but just let us all know if they're £100 each or whatever it may be.
No,
I think we,
nothing like
yes,
that, but I'll
Mr. Chairman,
do it.
yes, thank you.
Okay.
But no, thank you for doing that. It needs doing. It's an eyesore.
Especially now they painted the first books.
That's
Yes.
what I'm saying.
Let's hope it matches.
Mm.
Should do.
Right, item 10, financial matters. Andy?
I think you've got the September figures on that. There's really very little to report from the last couple of months. One, I'm battling with the bank. So it's
Still.
just been August, it's just been the groundworks, cleaning and locking each month, refuse collection. We had our contribution that we agreed to the rival has come out.
This is for some years, isn't it? For the rival,
Yes,
Yes, that was 3 years, wasn't it?
3
Yes.
years worth.
Yes.
just to be clear.
And and bank charges. That's really the only money that's come out at the moment. I'm making slow progress with the banks.
Is there any other?
Unbelievably.
Is HSB still refusing to close the one account?
Well, we agreed that I would go temporarily on the mandate, so I sent off a mandate. They said, oh, the forms are all online. So I sent off the form, but unfortunately there's a council mandate which is not online. So they sent it all back to me saying, well, you sent the wrong mandates. So that wasted a month while it came backwards and forwards, and they actually haven't officially informed me that I'm on the mandate. I had to go into the branch in Canterbury and ask them, and they said I was. So it's every step is like a battle, really. But so I am now on it, so I can talk to the bank and hopefully push them to close the account and transfer to the new one. So the new one is up and running. We've just got some issues with access to a system. Sort that out.
To reassure you about your relationship with banks, my Belgian pension cheque arrived today, 10 days late, having been posted from Brussels to Zurich, Zurich to London, and it said on the form, if I had any queries, would I please bring somebody in the States? Right.
It's good to bring all the words you got.
None of them was Zurich, are they?
It took 10 days to get, 12 days to get here.
So that was it on the financial report. The only other item of finances had notification back from the external auditors of interim completion of the external audit. I had to provide them with some dates and send that off to them. So pretty soon they'll be signing off.
Any queries?
No.
Can I have a proposer for these accounts?
Yeah.
Pauline, seconder? Christiane? All in favour?
No,
We'll assume next.
succinct and well presented.
Thanks, all right.
Yeah.
Okay.
She spent half of it.
Yes.
Right. Item 11, to discuss events for 2023.
I suppose the main event is going to be whether
Coronation.
to do anything.
What
with
is it?
coronation.
Do we need to do something? Surely at the coronation everybody will be sitting at home watching it on
Yeah.
television. Don't we want to just have a normal fete with a coronation theme?
Well, I wouldn't, well,
Don't want to move it up either.
my view on this is that we keep the fake date this year for July. I especially with the arena events, I really had trouble to find anybody a month earlier, never mind 2 months earlier.
Yeah.
Say coming to cheerleaders, etc. They all said when it comes to July, we're happy to come, but not earlier
No.
because
So-
we're still in competitions and.
So this is the proposal that we revert to our usual one in July.
Yeah.
Do 2 events that are far enough apart, and for the coronation, I mean, I only heard about this today.
Yes.
What,
It's
so
an
everybody else was
Yeah,
on
and
the
actually
topic.
don't know what the weather's going to be like.
Because it was first thought the date was floating around was the same date as the Queen's coronation, the first June weekend.
Second.
That was floating around, and now it's a month earlier. Spontaneously, I would say do a public screening in the rec with a picnic, and maybe
You won't get people coming out that weather.
Everybody's got a television.
You're going to watch it on television, you'll see more.
Mm.
Yeah. Which I know public screening, but will they come out?
No, I don't think so, not for a coronation. I mean, we've all got far better televisions at home than public screening could give you in the rec.
And the council might do one out at
Market Square or somewhere?
no, they went to the Market Square, they were at the park, weren't they? Kersney. They
Oh,
usually-
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, they like to do events out there, don't they?
Yeah.
Or Pencester.
Any idea? Usually our
Folks
royal
do
push
that
one
to
in
that
here.
as well.
No, I was just going to say, it may be worth seeing what others are doing
Yeah.
before we decide. I think having our fete back in July is a great idea. And if we do something for the coronation, let's do it in line with possibly what others are doing.
Yeah.
It's maybe too soon to decide what
Yes.
to do. Let's see what comes out, whether it's going to be the beacons being lit or something.
Yes.
You know,
I mean,
it could be something a little bit.
I'm sure we're doing something, but it doesn't need to be.
Well,
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yes, yeah. And I say I don't mind if we get a few fireworks, but
I'm an ardent royalist, but I still don't think we need to do something for the coronation. We did something for the funeral. I think we should
We
let
did-
the
what-
coronation
what
pass
did we do
low
for-
key and carry on.
For the funeral.
Fireworks again with the
What did we do for
Met the bloke.
pending
I
complaint from
haven't been to
Whitfield.
Jubilee.
What did we do for the funeral then?
Sorry?
What did we do for the funeral? then?
Well, no, the Queen's funeral, I think.
What did we do? Oh, we did
Well, no,
nothing.
we
We did
We all
nothing.
sat there and watched the telly.
yeah,
mean,
we
but-
watched the telly, yes, but
I-
we just did the Queen's Jubilee, but that I think is
But
enough.
I would suggest that I'd be amazed if I'm wrong, that there will be some people in this area who think that the coronation should be celebrated in some shape or form in the recreation ground. That will happen. But as it stands at the moment, several remarks have been made about people wanting to watch this, even in its sort of proposed slimmed down form, on their television set at home, or record it and do it that way.
hence an evening celebration may be
Yes.
what becomes the normal. I say, Mr.
I think we
let's
wait and see.
wait and
We'll
see,
wait and see.
wait and
Yeah,
see.
wait and
But
see.
I would be surprised if there's nothing. Even if lighting
Yes.
beacons
We
and
can have fireworks.
there were.
Noise is
I mean, Charles seems to, he seems to want to go shying away from the big spectacular, isn't he?
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Simple as that.
Well, the service was.
It's just as well it didn't coincide with the FA Cup final because the public's loyalties would have definitely been split that day.
But there will be some in this area, I know, who will start banging on about sort of
I
having
don't
some
say it's
No,
not
sort of
anything, but slim down and certainly
Not
not
during the
again
day.
and massive event like we had last year. This year.
Yeah, but not during the day. I don't think you'll get many.
I
others.
think- I
July
think
for
what-
your fate.
Yeah.
Yes.
What
Yes.
date is it?
I think what was done this year in bringing our fate forward, I mean, we discussed it for goodness sake, you know,
Alright.
at some length, didn't we?
Is it always
That
the second?
the only way that we could do it was to bring the fate forward, you
So
know,
we
to,
usually do the second, so it would be the 5th, the 16th of July for the fete, or the 20th, yeah,
16th.
we usually.
yeah, whatever, you know, that
Yeah.
sort of time. That's what we've
I would
done.
like to
Oh,
set it
Mr. Chairman, we
early.
can set that in stone, can't we?
Not really, because what you do need to do is to make sure that Lytton, Whitfield or Temple
Okay.
Ewell haven't
Yeah.
got one on
Yes.
the same day. We don't want it on the
Yes.
same day.
But
So,
subject to that.
subject to that,
Yes.
yes.
Great.
But what we did this year, I think that we should be very pleased with ourselves about, because if you remember, I mean, Christiane, for example, phoned me up on the Monday before this fete, and doom and gloom. There was sort of, it was going to be sort of like an Indian sort of monsoon all that week and right through the weekend. And I told you, didn't I?
Yes.
I wouldn't take any notice whatsoever of these long distance weather forecasts. I wouldn't get excited until Friday. And we had more people there, we believe, than have ever turned up for one of our fetes before.
Angela Lansbury's
Well, I think
like.
so. They
Well,
also
it's
stayed
good.
longer. A lot of them stayed.
Yeah, it was a long day.
So I think we go, we're all agreed, are we?
Yeah.
We go with the fete, the date to be advised,
Yeah.
once you've checked with the other
I will look
villages.
at, yeah, okay, I look at
Please.
that. I look
And
at those dates.
just bring that back to the next meeting.
Alright.
We'll do that. And as far as
my
the...
birthday, so usually,
Sorry.
Coronation.
it's always
So,
my birthday.
hold on a minute, hold on.
Oh.
So I usually have other things to do.
You okay? Good. what we do then, as far as the coronation's concerned, we'll just hold on that one for the time being. There may be
Should
something...
we send a letter of congratulations to the King?
Yeah,
I think
I haven't got a
never
problem with that.
hurts, you know.
But what we do with that, it may well be that, for example, that Dover District Council will want to put something on that parish councils might be invited to participate in, or something like that. You know, we'll watch and see on that one, okay?
What weekend is normally the beer festival?
Oh,
Isn't that in May?
That's
Yes.
at the end of May.
Bank holiday.
Bank holiday.
It's the end of May, isn't it?
End of May. It's
Yes, bank holiday
weekend.
weekend.
So is there anything
Days,
else
isn't it?
on
Yeah.
2023?
Well, no.
Okay, let's move on then. Item 12, highways, school parking.
Yeah.
I think you've got a
We've
copy
got
there
that.
of the...
Well, basically, the problem with parking at the school is all the teachers. I'm sorry, I think that they should carpool and come in with less than about 30 cars every day and stop creating a parking problem.
I wish it was that simple, Patrick,
Well, it's an idea.
but it's not. It's not.
A couple of different
Yeah,
areas.
I mean, this has been
Some come from Deal.
no, this has been going on for 10 years or more, and it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
as
yeah.
bad now as it used to be.
But Mr Chairman, this is happening in every
Yeah.
town, every
right.
village throughout the
Yeah.
UK. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong, but we are facing exactly the same problem that happens in Dover Town,
Yeah.
in Temple Hill. It happens.
And we all know.
And we've got to do the best we can, but we're never going to get rid of it,
No.
Mr Chairman.
No.
We're never going to
Because
get rid
kids
of
are
it.
Just,
not allowed to walk to school
And they
alone.
can't go into
So they're in year 6.
Andrew, can you just enlighten us?
I didn't know that one.
We had a meeting with the head teacher, didn't we?
Yeah.
And one of there were two things that were agreed, and I believe this has gone up on notice boards and it's in Katie's window as well. That there were two things that were asked for by the school. One was that the signs outside here would be changed from 8:30 until 8 o'clock to include for breakfast club or something like that. And the second one was that they would run the double yellow lines just up Common Lane as far as the parking space there.
Yes, just before One Guthrie Gardens.
Yes.
Yes, those are the two items. That's the scheme that Kent Highways drew up, and this is what the consultation was based on.
That's right.
This basically ran throughout, well, it started just before the school broke up for the summer holiday. The school sent letters round to some local residents just around the school. They also sent it out to all children via their usual channels, so parents should have had a letter and a copy of it, and it's also been up on notice boards, so the consultation has been running throughout August. The idea is that Highways like to get the parishes to do a consultation initially to see what the strength of feeling is, rather than going through the cost of having one provided by KCC. So this is what we've got. We've got 9 responses. Was it four of those are 4 of those are complete objections. One is a suggestion of alternatives, but doesn't really say in favour or not. Another one asked for some additional information, which I have since provided, and a couple of people, 3 people actively supported it. So it's a very mixed bag.
That's all the responses, they've got 9.
Mm.
Well, how many houses have they got?
420 children.
How many houses did they actually drop the thing
No,
into?
no. What we agreed with Mr. Brickham was that he would actually send a letter around to all the parents.
To all the parents?
To all the parents. So just asking about this. And then in addition to that, there would be consultation of to encourage the local
Which
people
isn't that much,
in this.
is it? No.
Yeah. But 420 odd children there. It's
So,
anyway. That's it, basically. It will go ahead. They will put the double yellow lines up there. It's where they've got at the moment. They've been planting cones up there,
Yeah.
haven't they? So,
A few flattened.
I don't think there's anything else, is there?
Well, I'll send this through to Kent Highways and see what their response is.
Yeah.
And see what they say.
Excuse me.
Sorry, Mr. Chairman.
I mean, I know a couple of them asked for more parking officers, but then we've got 52 schools around the district.
Well, that's the problem.
They have the same problems.
Every school has the same problem throughout of the UK, and I think you find it even abroad, but certainly we have a major problem in the UK.
Yeah, but generally I found, because I moved to this country, I was stunned when I was a parent in the school that you couldn't leave your children, walk to school alone till year 6.
When did they bring that in?
I don't know, mine left a few years ago. I said in Germany, they're 6 years old, they walk to school alone in groups.
My
And you
grandson's
don't
walked
have to
school
bring
from
them, and
6.
then you stand in front of the school till 8:45 till they're open again. And then you have to rush to work, which you
We
possibly
could
have
drop
to
off 8:30.
2:45 till 5:02.
It's not enough time.
For 400 children, I keep saying it, and that's the problem.
well, I think the big problem is, okay, new regulations, new lines, anybody else. Is anybody going to actually check on it? Is
Well, they
anybody
do.
going to monitor it?
They do monitor it, but unfortunately they cannot do that very often.
Who is they?
The parking wardens will come out,
Yeah.
but they can't come out every day.
Well, unless
There's
they
too many
do,
schools.
the
No,
whole
there's
thing-
too many schools. We haven't got that many parking wardens.
They will continue to be as undisciplined as they have up to now. I mean, it's not going to be, the number one objection is absolutely right. Everybody will ignore it. You know, it's
It's not
happens.
been policed properly, isn't it?
It's not being policed, no.
We haven't got resources.
I know we haven't.
We haven't got 52
Do you remember the
parking
days of
wardens.
Janet, our one and only PCO, exclusive to the village? Everything worked brilliantly. So there you go. You know. This is really an academic exercise, I think. Nobody's going to enforce it, nobody's going to respect it.
I mean,
Which
I
is very
always
unfortunate,
ask
but, you know.
now.
Oh, don't, that's a murder. We should have to-
So, Mr. Chairman, we now send
There's
this
too many schools in
on
one
to
area, isn't there?
highways.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Too many
That
schools.
is-
Well,
This is the result of the local
And
consultation.
you got the buses.
It's just a fact.
Right.
Just a
We'll
fact.
go on to item 13.
Yeah.
Michael.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You mentioned brevity earlier, and I just want to quote something from Hanley, where Melodius said that brevity is the soul of wit. So I make no apologies for the humour I might bring to the proceedings this evening. Now, given brevity, I'm not going to take you through a full report. This is available for anybody who wants it, both in paper and electronically. So I'll leave a copy here for perusal, or whatever the protocol may be, which I don't know. I think I'll give myself the harshest test by talking about this report narrative and what I tried to set out to do in June, some 4 months ago, and just give a very succinct summary of where we are at now. The first objective was to enhance my knowledge and collectively our knowledge about the ecology of a chalk stream, how the damn thing works, okay? And then to have a more authoritative relationship with the Environment Agency, because we're talking their language. And from the experience I had with that relationship, was it had somewhat withered on the vine, but I'm pleased to say that there is now a very positive fledgling relationship with the EA. This is why I believe that the work was completed on the stream. I was very careful not to push too hard because we have much bigger fish to fry, which I'll talk to you about shortly. So I think we now have a much more proactive relationship with them. But the other key aspect to this, that we can't be a lone voice in sorting out any potential problems we have with the River Dow. We've got to be part of a larger collective. And one of my ambitions was to find out what that collective actually existed of. And that exists of a large number of partly government funded and charity funded stakeholders who have responsibility for managing and preserving chalk streams. And I'm pleased to say that out of 6 of them, we already we're in the loop with 4 of them. And the key ones are the Environment Agency, the South East Rivers Trust, and the East Kent Partnership. To the extent that the Environment Agency have told me after a meeting happened in August that there is now additional funding available for sustainable projects to look at chalk stream renovation or habitat preservation or improvement. That normally is done with a stakeholder, and that is the South East Rivers Trust, who were coming down on the 20th of October to do an inspection with the river with me, and that's actually getting our feet wet. It's not from the bank, but that's now being put to the 4th of November, and with them the White Cliffs Countryside Partnership are sending one of their representatives as well. Now, if they can find a viable project, and by viable I mean you have to accept that the Dow is not a classic chalk stream. It's been massively modified over many years, mainly for industrial purposes, so it doesn't act like a normal chalk stream. And there's a huge amount of infrastructure there that would be simply too expensive to move. A prime example was, one of the big needs we need on this river is a fish pass at the mill to allow migration of fish to come all the way up the river rather than being stuck in pockets. Now that sort of infrastructure to do that is probably well outside of the funding the EA have put on the table now. So I don't want to say that there's a magic wand here, but there's certainly a relationship where we move from being bystanders to being active and looking at a project with these individuals. And that is now tabled to happen over November. And I'll obviously report at the next meeting what happens on the 4th of November. As far as the abstraction issue is concerned, I've spent a lot of time through the front door and back door trying to get the abstraction data from Affinity Water. It's got to a stage now where I've issued a Freedom of Information Act to both Affinity Water and the Environment Agency. The Environment Agency have come back and given me some of the peripheral data, which I won't go into now, but said they will answer the abstraction question, but they haven't given me a time scale on it. The Affinity of Water have blanked me all the way, and I've got to find another way in there. I did try. I went to some of the stakeholders, and you'll find in my report, the CABA, which is a chalk stream reservation group funded by the government, has all that data. You'll see in here, because they've been using it to calculate the state of various rivers, and I'll just drop onto that in a minute. But the key thing is that they will not give it to a third party. I've got very good friends there, but they said, I'm sorry, but you can't have it. So I'm really pressuring now to get that information. Now, what I will say from my immediate instincts are, and from the information I've collected, that because Affinity Water, who provides drinking water for this area and a large catchment area, 2/3 of their water comes from groundwater from rivers. We're not an area that has a number of reservoirs or even rivers to extract from. So I'm pretty certain that over time that the amount of water they're taking out of the river is pretty much up to the top of their licence requirements, okay? I'm going to get to the bottom of what those licence requirements are, but it's going to take a bit more time. In terms of the overall health of the Dow, there is no issue major issue at all on water quality. We forget that one. It's got a great head of juvenile adult trout. The Southern Water, who are so famous now for dumping sewage into our rivers and seas, have only got 3 storm outlets at the bottom end of the river around Maidstone and Buckland. They haven't been particularly active. They're monitored. I can look at them every day to see what muck they send in there. And whilst it's not good that any sort of untreated effluent should go into our river, it's not a major problem, okay, at the moment, over the last 2 years where I've got the data. So, I won't go into the technicalities in the report about looking at the Dow in terms of comparing the amount of water that falls in our catchment area from naturally from the rain to what's being taken out of it, but there is a new equation to look at that, and the general impression I get for the Dow as an urban chalk stream, we're somewhere in the middle ranking or just above of a parcel of 73 chalk streams I've got data for. So we're not by any means the most beleaguered at all. So I think there is room for optimism, and I think that if we can create what I call this empowerment by confederation with the stakeholders, I think that we can start making some improvements, and that our voice will be heard on a larger regional scale. And also, beyond that, I think that it could become a project that the village becomes involved with. There becomes kind of citizens, ecologists that join us in this idea that the river is something we ought to protect. And I think on the subhead of the my report, I said that, you know, chalk streams are British and we should be proud of them. And that's what I'd like to engender in the village on the back of this project I hope we can get. And I think that that could be part of our parish website. And certainly I'm quite happy to use my nature pages in Rival to write about how the project's going. Okay, but there's a lot more technical detail in there. If anybody wants to read it, they can. It's not as exciting as Hilary Mantel. It won't take Patrick away from his favourite read, A Year of Brabants, or perhaps even our great friend here, who's reading Recreations and Parks Management every evening. But anyway, it's there. Have a read.
Right.
Okay.
Well,
Yes.
first of all, on behalf of us all, thank you for all the work that you've carried out. I would suggest, Andy, that it would be a good idea if this could be put on our website so that people can then have a look at it at their leisure and raise any questions or any points for clarification.
There may be some comments in there with a little bit, they're realistic but harsh about the Environment Agency.
Okay.
The key thing there is that they're under-resourced, they're lacking funding from the government, and you get a big changeover of personnel. Now, having just established a nice relationship with our new contact, I don't want to really... It's not really rude what I put in there, but it's the facts. And that's not my opinion, it's what I've got from other people.
Andrew's made a point in a letter that came out today about these folders, haven't you?
I sent round, there is now a shared folder online with documents, so I'll certainly, I'll upload it to that so that everyone
That's a good idea, so that we can all read it.
And
come back with any questions later on.
I'm particularly gratified to see something being done about this. I obviously follow the Dow every day, and my dog spends an hour and a half wandering around it with his dog walker. We've, number one, quality of water, excellent, not much of it, but the fish are doing really well, the ones that swim past my house every day. Everybody's doing fine. We have noticed, however, a lot of activity, I would dare to say, bodging repairs up in, not particularly in where sinkholes have appeared, which you might know about.
Russell Gardens?
Yeah, Russell Gardens.
What's happened with Russell Gardens is that I was there when they drained the lake, because the EA tipped me off on this. So what happens on the left-hand side when you walk in, there's a huge problem with the base there. The water is now going under the road and affecting the foundations of the houses on the outside of the road. So the EA have drained it. They brought in East Kent Fishery, and now I was there. They took out 20 brown trout from the lake itself, and now that's not the only bit, but the feeder lake, which they diverted the stream, had more than 20 there, and there was one of over 4 pounds came out in a net for East Kent. So that work at the moment is subject to survey. So I believe that the Russell Gardens will be dry for a considerable period before work goes on the works there. But it's not going to be a bodge this time. I think they've realised they've got to get it right.
I'm sure that years ago, when I used to walk a dog up that way, And so it was over about 20, 25 years ago. I'm sure that they had a similar problem then, with it. And they had to drain it, and they,
but it
it's been a problem for some time.
But more recently, 5 or 6 years ago, it was when they scooped everything out before, because they put it up on the tennis courts, didn't they? And cleaned it all out. There was a survey firm came down from London with some very sophisticated equipment to identify all the sort of weak areas that needed to be repaired. But nothing happened. And the story that we got, which was from several sources actually, was that the water table sort of rose, and that they couldn't do the repairs. And the explanation for that was, the blame for that was put on the Environment Agency, because they didn't have their permission, or their permission wasn't forthcoming. Anyway, this time it does seem, from what I can gather, talking to a few people there that seem to be in the know, I think all the sort of bases have been covered. And if you look in the car park entrance at the top of Russell Gardens, on the Folkestone end of it, you'll see that about 15 or 16 bags of sort of stuff have been delivered to actually carry out the repairs on the problem. So I think it's going to happen.
Unfortunately, according to my observer, who's a keen nature lover, who sees it every morning, the repairs have been done somewhere between twice and 3 times, because they weren't done properly the first time. And therefore this has taken weeks longer than it should have done. Do you agree on this assessment?
Yes, I mean, there's certainly no active sign of work being done at the moment.
I don't think any repairs have been carried out.
No, they have nothing started
At the
yet.
moment.
They've tried.
No, it's
Not this time.
They've just delivered the material in sacks.
Yeah.
We were there on Sunday.
Reports from the workers.
Anyway, I mean, the one thing I think we should be aware of, although Russell Gardens is of interest to us, in as much that the river flows through it, Russell Gardens does not fall in River Parish Council.
It's Dover District, yeah.
Well, it's in Temple York.
Oh, right, sorry.
But anyway, let's again be thankful that Michael has been able to put this report
I do
together.
have a couple of paper copies if anybody wants one. I'll tell you it's not the most exciting.
And well, we'll visit this again at our next meeting.
Yes, yeah.
Thank you. Right, item 14. Anything under that, Andy? That hasn't been covered before?
Just 2 items of correspondence, just meetings, forthcoming meetings. The Dover Area Committee of the Kent Association of Local Councils is meeting on the Wednesday 26th of October at Gluston Village Hall. If anyone's interested, there's a presentation by the East Kent Health and Care Partnership. Reports from the Calc Executive, the Dover Joint Transportation Board and the Dover Quality Bus Partnership. The other is the Calc Annual General Meeting, which is Saturday 19th of November. Each member council is entitled to send 2 voting representatives to the AGM. They will be sending out the annual report and the paperwork shortly. To have a look at it, but I'll pass that around once it arrives.
Okay. If anybody's interested in attending either of those meetings, please let Andy know. Item 15. I missed it this time.
Right, just two things actually, Mr. Chairman. I received, and I think we all received, a note from a young lad sitting his A-levels.
Yeah.
I replied, I think I replied to everyone initially. I then received a subsequent reply from him saying, well, to come tonight wasn't convenient, and I dropped him back a note and said, well, okay, we've got a meeting in November, please put that in the diary. If you come there, then you'll get far more than us trying to say with one word why we like to live in River. Difficulty, had some good questions. So I was worried. I haven't heard back from him, and I don't know if anyone else replied but I felt it was important to do so. And also, I do recall we had a lady that had recently moved into River, and were we not going to invite her to join a meeting or some such thing?
Ah, that was Miss Cakebread, wasn't it?
That sounds vaguely familiar.
That was what the
Yes.
lady who a year ago had not long
The
moved.
name's on the school cake bread is on
Yes,
the school
that's the-
report.
that's the
But we
one.
did say that I think we were going to invite her to a meeting so that she could come, she could listen, she could put her points. I wondered if we had done anything.
A meeting was going to be set up with, we talked about this, with the head teacher there and somebody from Kent Highways. And I said that I was, made it clear that I'd be quite happy to chair this meeting. It wouldn't be a parish council meeting like this, but it would be a meeting where this could be brought to some sort of conclusion. But this lady was making quite a number of sort of suggestions and remarks and criticisms, if I seem to remember correctly. But as far as I know, there were no takers on that.
No, it's just that I like as a member of the parish council, if somebody does say something, does raise something, youngsters with A levels, to at least be interested enough to reply to him.
Sure.
And yes, with this lady, I knew we'd discussed it. I couldn't see we'd done anything, and I was really worried. Should we be doing something? No, that was my only two items, Mr. Chairman, that I wanted to bring up, because I felt we need to be seen to listen to possibly what people say sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Michael?
Thank you.
Adam?
Yes.
Patrick? Anything else? Chris? Christiane?
No, Diana.
Right. You okay?
Yep.
Right. I declare this meeting closed. A little earlier